For this bad boy. Okay. So first of all, super excited for you guys and gals. Let me just do kind of a quick, like little recap, if you will. So you guys on here are all part of Elevate, as you know. And as part of Elevate, part of this initial kind of launch of Elevate, we decided to give you guys access to the E5 camp masterclass. And as an extra special bonus, I am going to be facilitating this for you for the next 8 weeks. This is really this is an exciting process, because what the facilitation is all about, what these sessions are all about each week, is it's not about learning more, because all of the learning is going to come through the modules. What these sessions are all about is making sure that you get the feedback that you need, the guidance that you need to be able to execute and implement on what it is that is covered every week. Now, every week you will see, every module, you will see that there are kind of accompanying worksheets. There are exercises, if you will. Those are so critical for you to complete and fill out, because those are all about taking what it is that you're learning and actually putting it into action. And so ultimately, what each week should look like for you is, it's the learning, going through the module. Some of the modules, I recommend that you go through more than once if possible. In fact, when I consume any kind of information, I go through multiple times. I'll speed up the audio or the video on subsequent passes through the content. And I recommend that you do that when possible. Once you go through the content, then it's all about filling out the worksheets and going through the exercises. Now, as you go through those exercises and as you fill out those worksheets, that's if you have issues or stumbling blocks, or if you just want to make sure that you've understood the aim, the goal, objective correctly, that you filled out the worksheets correctly, that's what these sessions are for. So these sessions are all about you getting the oversight from me, getting my direction, getting my feedback specific to the implementation and execution. This way, week by week by week by week, you're building your assets necessary so that at the end of the 8 weeks, you've got a rockin' funnel built on the E5 camp, built on the protocol. And so if you don't have any issues or problems filling out the exercises, I would still urge you and recommend you to show up to these sessions, because no doubt you'll hear something from me. You'll get an insight from me as I'm going through somebody else's stumbling block or issue. And so again, these sessions are about you getting the feedback that you need, the direction that you need, the understanding that you need as it relates to the implementation and execution. And so there is no question that is off limits. There's no foolish question. I want to make sure that every week, week by week, with these facilitation sessions for the E5 camp, that you walk away with complete understanding, so that what needs to be executed for the week is fully executed. Now, the way these sessions are going to work for you guys and gals is you will have the option of chatting live, like getting on camera and chatting live. You could certainly, you don't have to have a camera. You'll still have the opportunity to just open up your microphone and kind of run by me what it is that you need to run by me. Or if you just don't feel comfortable getting on the mic or getting on video, you can post whatever it is whatever question or issue it is that you may be having with any element of the past week's module, right into the chat section. And then David will make sure that I cover each of, everybody's question regardless. And so for right now, what I want to make sure for everybody that jumped on a little bit late, that you go ahead and mute yourself. Just mute yourself for right now, just so that we reduce noise. What will happen is, in just a few minutes, I am going to, I'll give you guys the opportunity to chat one at a time. When it's your turn, Then you'll open up your mic if you want to chat on mic, get on camera, whatever it may be. First and foremost, I'm going to do something a little bit different today. In just a minute, I'm going to go through, because I've done this so many times with so many prior coaching classes and whatnot, I want to cover the 7 kind of common questions that are thrown my way about this first module, really about the first set of examination, the first things that I covered in module 1. But before we do that, I want to just talk very quickly about this stage, about the examination stage. And like I said in the introductory video to this module, this is definitely not the sexiest part of this process, right? Everybody usually loves to get to the engineering stage, and they want to immediately begin working on copy, and they want to immediately begin working on the headline, and they want to work on the lead, and they want to work on the argument and the offer and the big idea and all of those things. And I get that. That is the most enjoyable part. But it is critical that you understand that this is one of the most important stages in the whole entire process, in the entire E5 camp, right? In the entire protocol. This is one of the, if not the most important stage, because here is where you identify all of the fodder, all of the hot buttons, all of the psychology, all of the elements that we're ultimately going to build your marketing funnel on. And I want you to recognize that if you leave out this, if you skip this stage, if a marketer who doesn't understand the value of this stage, skip this part, right? I have no idea how they could expect to engineer a marketing message that resonates on a psychological level and a logical level with their prospects. I have no idea how they can expect to create a message that really strikes that hot button, that really nails what it is that the prospect wants and desires and fears and all of their, the emotional triggers that we need to know to create a marketing funnel that converts. As well, without this stage, I have no idea how a marketer can expect to develop a marketing message, an idea, an offer that is different, that is unique, that is fresh, right? That creates engagement, that gets attention, that stands out in the marketplace, that prevents that mental opt-out. See, all of those elements, all of those pieces come from this stage. That's why you see that in the masterclass, we actually take 2 modules to cover the entire examination stage. Then we cover another 2 modules. We dedicate another 2 modules for the engineering stage. But it starts with a deep understanding of your audience. Like I said, right? First your audience, then it's your competition, right? And then it is ultimately digging into the product and understanding the product or the service so that we can find the fodder, the details, the essence, for a marketing message. And so despite this being tedious, and this is the most kind of tedious module or set of modules in the entire program, it is essential. The gold comes from the research. The gold comes from the examination stage. And you'll hear me use the word research and examination. I really want you to think of it as one and the same, right? As one and the same. And so if I was given 4 weeks to create a marketing funnel. And remember, let me take one step back. You heard me talk about this at MFA Live. We're not here to bang out a funnel and generate an extra $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 a month. We're talking about you creating a game-changing, business-changing, life-changing funnel, right? One that you can build the foundation of your business on, one that for months and months and months to come will allow you to acquire new customers from cold traffic. And so we're not looking to whip something up and throw it on the web. We're looking to do it the right way. Remember, don't ever underestimate the task at hand when it comes to creating a funnel that moves prospects to buy. Don't get caught up in the trap of just because it's easy today for us to put up funnels, to put up squeeze pages, to put up VSLs. Like it's never been easier than it is right now. But that doesn't mean that the conversion side of things are easy. That doesn't mean, just because it's easy to put up pages, in no way, shape, or form means that the process of turning a prospect into a buyer is easy. My thesis on that, my stance on that, is that it's harder today than ever before because of how easy it is to put up a funnel, because there's so much noise. And so we need to take this the distance. And so really important. If I was given 4 weeks to create a funnel, 2 of those weeks would be dedicated to examination, to research, to digging and making sure that I have every last bullet in my gun that I need, every last hot button that I understand, and I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to be patient with it, as you guys need to be. Again, 4 weeks, half of that time I would dedicate to the examination. 1 week I would dedicate to the actual engineering or crafting. And then the last week would be going back and kind of editing, so to speak, before we release it. And so critical this stage. So with that being said, let me run through before we go to whoever wants to run something by me. And usually I'll tell you that for your expectations, that usually the first, usually there's not a huge amount of individuals that require a lot of feedback during the examination stage. Usually the bulk of the feedback, guidance, oversight, direction comes in through the engineering stage, and then certainly the evaluation stage and whatnot. But with that being said, let me go through the 7 most common questions that I get with this. And so the first one is, how do I find out the psychology of my market if I'm brand new and haven't started marketing yet? So if you're releasing a brand new product, a brand new service, a brand new program, or you're going into a market for the first time and you don't have a list yet, you don't have a following yet, how do you understand the psychology of the marketplace? Well, it really comes from you becoming a student of the language that your market is using in all of the different channels that we can tap into to kind of listen in on their conversations. So this is where things like you joining the various Facebook groups associated with your marketplace, you being a fan of the various Facebook pages associated with your marketplace, that may be pages or groups that are from experts in your area. That may be just general discussion groups on your, in your marketplace. As well, we're looking for any additional social media chatter. For example, it's setting up a Google alert for any discussions from your market that are related to the topic that your topic, your area, where kind of the topic related to your product or service. It's you looking for Twitter traffic. It's you then going over to a site like Amazon and pulling up the top 10 books for your marketplace for your particular topic, and it's you looking at the various comments and reviews. Typically, when I do this, I look at the reviews that are rated with 4 stars, and I look at the reviews that are rated with 2 stars. I'm not looking for the 1 stars or the 5 stars, because those people are typically either they're raving fans and they love it and they were fans to begin with, and it's people from their tribe that just gave them 5 stars, or it's people that are just haters. Right. So I look at 4 stars, I look at 2 stars, I look at 3 stars. And what you're looking for is you're looking for language. You're looking for trends in what is it that they are saying that they like, that they enjoy. What is it that they're saying that they got out of the book, the publication? What is it that they felt was missing? And where was the gap? What is it that they were looking for more of from the publication? Now, here is where, with Amazon reviews and with comments and posts and whatnot in Facebook groups and on various forums, you also should be looking at the top blogs in your market. And what you're looking for is, you're not looking necessarily at the content, you're looking at the comments from your from the audience, from your market. And here is where you need to spend a little bit of time kind of thinking through, where are these comments coming from an emotional perspective? Meaning, like, you're looking to understand, are these people coming from a place of frustration? Are these people coming from a place of excitement and hope? Are these people coming from a place of disappointment? Are these people coming from a place of fear? In other words, where is the emotional foundation of what it is that they're, what it is that they are saying and communicating? And so we're not looking, we're like, you're going to see later on how we're going to use these different sources for other purposes, like how we're going to use trends in language. We're going to use common language. We're going to use common terms. We're going to use common phrases that we see from the market in the copy, but that's not what I'm talking about right here in the examination stage. Right now in the examination stage, what you're looking for is you're looking to understand what are the emotional triggers behind what it is that your prospects, the people in your marketplace are saying and feeling. And so you've got to become a little bit more of a student. You've got to begin to ponder and ask yourself, is this comment, is this review coming from a place of hope and excitement? Is it coming from a place of disappointment? Is it coming from a place of fear? Is it coming from a place of greed? Are they talking about, you know, like I was hoping to see more opportunities to make money or more opportunities to blah, 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 blah. You have to begin to ask yourself those type of questions. And so you're also looking for, depending on your marketplace, you're also looking for or should be looking at various periodicals. So that means that if in your marketplace there are magazines or there are trade journals, you want to get copies of those magazines and trade journals. In an ideal world, I would tell you that you should subscribe to those. The reason why you want to subscribe to those is because you want to become a student of the market ongoing. You want to continue to see what topics are hot, what topics are exciting. You want to read in these magazines or these journals any kind of feedback from subscribers and readers. For this stage, that's what we are looking for. And so it is, you know, when you have a list, it's a different ballgame because you can then begin to survey your list. You can then begin to look at your own blog comments. You can then begin to look at your own comments and feedback in your own Facebook page and Facebook group. But regardless, even when you have that following and you have the ability to survey your list and you still want to continue to be a student of what is going on out in the wild, right? Because you may be attracting a certain type of prospect. You may be attracting, you know, only prospects that right now tend to have hope, tend to be excited, tend to be more positive. But what you're looking for is you're looking to get a full insight or an insight into the full marketplace. And so that's where you begin. The second question that I typically get is, what if the demographic profile for your market is all over the place, right? What if it's kind of all over the place and there is no clear profile? There's no clear, it's 50-50 in terms of gender, or, you know, it's spread out over age, let's say, or income, or whatever it may be. Well, first and foremost, for right now, just remember, for right now, this is just the first step in the examination process. You're not making any decisions right now about what to do with that demographic profile. In other words, you're not making any judgments on any of the data that you may have collected. Right now, it's simply about the collection of that information. You're going to understand how we use that data, how we use that demographic profile, no matter what it is, when we get to the engineering stage. And so the thing that I want you to understand with the demographic profile, whether it is specific and, you know, it's crystal clear that you're in a male-dominated market, and it's crystal clear that you're dealing with individuals between 35 and 55, regardless of whether it's that or it's all over the place and it's really spread out, there is no one that's better than the other. Right? I don't want you to think that means that, like, you didn't do the examination process right, or that your market isn't as good as another market. That is irrelevant. It's just about collecting the data. So no judgments on whether it's all over the place or whether it is targeted. The third question is, what if there are no direct response competitors in the market? So what if you're going into a market where there are no direct response competitors? And so what do you do in terms of competitor analysis in this stage? Well, there's a couple things. Number one, you don't do anything. In other words, if there are no direct response based competitors, there are no competitors in your market that are using direct response marketing, meaning the only competitors in your marketplace are brand institutional advertisers, then you don't do the competitor analysis. You don't need to do the competitor analysis. We're not looking to do a competitor analysis on brand institutional advertisers. We're only doing the competitor analysis on direct response marketers. And so if there are none right now in your market, then you don't do the competitor analysis. Now, the one thing that I would say, the one thing that I would share with you that's important for you to understand is that if there are no direct response competitors in your market, that's a bit of a red flag, right? That's always that is always a bit of a red flag, right? It's a rarity today that you're going to find a green market where no other direct response marketer has discovered it yet. Now, look, if you're dealing with a new trend, a new topic, a new category, right, you may be the first to market. And if that's the case, that's cool. But if you're going into an older market, if you're not dealing with a new topic, if you're not dealing with a new market or a new segment of the market, and there are no direct response competitors, that's definitely a bit of a red flag. And I would step back and make sure that your market meets the criteria that I laid out for you in this module. I'll tell you that, I look for markets that have a lot of direct response competitors. I'm looking for competitors because competitors are evidence that there is a financial opportunity there, right? So like when it was interesting because I'll give you a quick little case study. So I've shared with many of you, I might have even shared it at MFA Live, that when I first started in the information publishing business, I started with massage therapists. I was teaching massage therapists how to market and sell their practice. And I very quickly got to see that I wasn't able to charge the same prices in that market that I was seeing from other direct response marketers that were in other markets, like the marketers that were like when Bill Glazer was selling marketing and sales training to retail stores, for example, and he was charging $900, $1,000 for his product, and I was only able to charge $300 or $399 for our product. Now, I thought when I went into that market that because there weren't a lot of direct response marketers that it was a good thing. But then again, I immediately realized that I wasn't able to charge the same price as these other guys, these other marketers in these other markets. When I looked at going into the chiropractic market to teach the very same thing, to teach practice building and sales training, I saw that there were a tremendous number of competitors. Competitors like Dan Kennedy, competitors like Ben Altadonna, lots and lots of very savvy direct response marketers. But I realized that through that served as evidence that there was money to be made there, that there was a higher transaction value in that space than there was in the massage space. And the key was just finding a point of differentiation, right, which you're going to learn in engineering. Finding a way to go into that crowded marketplace, that marketplace with evidence of competitors, and find a way to differentiate what it is that I was saying and what it is that I was offering. And we ended up doing that with a SaaS product. And so really important for you to understand, if there are no direct response competitors, you don't do the competitor analysis, but I would tell you that you need to go back and make sure that you run your marketplace through the criteria that I laid out to make sure that it meets all that criteria. The last thing that you want to do, and I could say this because I've done it, I've experienced this, the last thing that you want to do is play in a market that doesn't give you the opportunity that matches your skill set, right? You don't want to be in an opportunity that you don't want to seize on an opportunity that doesn't give you the level of opportunity that you really can and should capitalize on based on your skill sets. And so you want to make sure that the opportunity matches your skill set, right? And so make sure that you're not operating in a marketplace that that doesn't give you that that opportunity. The next question, number 4, is what do I do if I believe that there is more than one dominant resident emotion in my market? Meaning, what is it? What do you do if, if some of your market is excited, some of your market is disappointed, some of your market is greedy, is driven by greed, some of your market is driven by fear. Well, if there is no one clear-cut dominant resident emotion, right? Like, in other words, if you're selling to individuals that are suffering with arthritis, we know that the bulk of the marketplace isn't excited, right? That the bulk of the marketplace is potentially frustrated, that they are disappointed, that they are scared, right? They have fear that they're going to lose mobility and lose the ability to do the things that they love today. But if you're in a marketplace where there are individuals that, like you see that some folks are coming from a place of hope, some folks are coming from a place of fear, that's okay. Just make a note of that during this stage. I'm going to explain to you and show you how you'll be able to leverage those different dominant emotions during the engineering stage. That's okay. Right now, it's just about noting what are the emotions, which kind of leads to the next question, the next question that I get often, which is, as it relates to those common desires, the common desires that I talked about from Victor Schwab's book, Common Desires. What if your market has a lot of common desires? Meaning, what if you could envision that your market does want to belong to an elite group, that your market does want, that they do crave recognition, right? And that suits your product, that they are looking for, for a boost in self-esteem. That's not only okay, that's a good thing, because you're going to see during the engineering stage how we're able to utilize all of those common desires throughout the marketing message. In fact, the more common desires that you can see, the more of those secret desires, right, that I showed you, the more of those deeper desires that your market has, that's ultimately linked to your product, right? That is linked to the product or service that you offer. And hey, guys, whoever is not muted, just go ahead and mute your phone or mute your mic for right now, just so that we reduce noise. Let's see. Okay. And so that's okay, right? Like, that's okay if you have a lot of those common desires. You're not looking to just narrow it down to one desire. It's kind of like, when we get to the engineering stage, I typically get
yeah, that's who's ever on 305-972, that number. That's where the noise is coming from. I don't know who that is.
Okay, hang on one second. 305. Okay, hang on. There we go. Okay. That it's kind of like, it's very similar to the question of what if I have a list of 15 benefits for my product or for my service? What if I end up that there is a list of 15 when we get to the engineering stage? That's okay. That's what you're ultimately looking for. You're ultimately looking for as many benefits as possible. And same thing with the common desires. We want to understand what makes your market tick. We want to understand ultimately what is it that your market, that your prospects are craving at that deep emotional level. That's what you're looking for here. And so it's okay if you have a lot of those common desires. The next question is, and there's just 2 more. The next question is, what if when you were examining your product, what if you don't have a unique mechanism, right? So what if you don't have a unique mechanism in your product or service? Well, here's the reality, right? This is the absolute transparent reality, that a unique mechanism is engineered, right? That there are 3 different ways for you to create a unique mechanism. Only one of the ways deals with an actual unique mechanism, meaning that there are 3 ways that you come up with a unique mechanism. Number 1, you have a unique mechanism, right? It exists in your product. You heard me talk about this at MFA. There is a unique mechanism. So if in the event that, like, there is nothing unique about your supplement, there's nothing unique about your methodology, there's nothing unique about whatever it is that you're offering, well, that's when we need to use one of the other 2 methods. The second method is we need to look for what is it in your product that is not necessarily unique amongst competitors' products or services, but is just not talked about. That's all you're looking for. So you might have an aspect of your product or service that is not unique, where there are other individuals, other companies, other marketers that are also including that thing, that also have that same feature, that same component, that same element in their product or service that you're competing with. But what you're looking for in the second stage is you're looking for something in your product or service that is not being talked about. Even if it's part of your competitors, like even if they have it, even if it's built in to their software, to their methodology, or to their program, or to their supplement, or whatever, to their therapy, right? Even if it's built in, if they are not talking about it, if they are not shining a light on it, right, then just by bringing that to the marketplace, that can become your unique mechanism. Now, odds are when you begin to do well with it, that it's no longer, it's going to shift from being a unique mechanism to eventually it's going to be just a mechanism. And then we're going to have to change to a different mechanism. But when you are able to identify something that is not being spoken about by competitors, you can use it as a unique mechanism. Remember, what you're looking for when it comes to the unique mechanism, and this is an important but subtle point, is that it's not unique to competitors, it's unique to prospects. And so, right, it doesn't have to be unique amongst what your competitors are. It just has to be unique to your prospect. It has to be something that they don't see, that they don't realize, that they don't understand other competitors are offering. Now, the third way is really the easiest way to come up with a unique mechanism. And it's typically the way that I utilize with every funnel. And that is you are creating a proprietary name for what it is that you are teaching or providing. You are basically, if you are like, remember, and I don't want to get too ahead. I don't want to get too out of the examination, this first part of the examination stage. But remember that, you know, we don't sell the generic, right? Like you're never, ever selling the generic. That just means that if you were selling a vitamin supplement, I don't care if your vitamin supplement has, 10 nutrients in there. You're not selling that vitamin supplement based on those individual 10 nutrients. You're selling that vitamin supplement based on your proprietary formulation, right? That it's a proprietary formulation. The generic are the nutrients. The generic is a list of 10 nutrients, right? Because then somebody else could have a list of 10 nutrients. Somebody else could have the same list of 10 nutrients. But if their nutrients, if those same 10 nutrients, those same 10 herbs have different dosages or different types, right? You can differentiate your product with the proprietary name for your formulation. Just like you heard me say at MFA Live, you're not selling, if you're selling, a Facebook traffic method, you're not selling a Facebook traffic method or tips on Facebook advertising, Facebook traffic. You're not selling a set of 5 steps or a sequence of 5 steps. You're selling a proprietary method. You see, it's important for you to understand that is a critical part of differentiating what it is that you offer from everybody else. It's a critical part of eliminating what I call a Google slap trigger. A Google slap trigger is and you guys have seen this before, you've experienced it before, no doubt. It's when you're listening to a marketing funnel and somebody talks about what makes their product or service work, what makes their product or service perform, and then they give you something generic. Like they say, what makes this fat burner work is the L-carnitine in it. Well, what immediately happens is prospects are watching the video, they hear L-carnitine, pause, Google L-carnitine. Now, all I did was I sold the prospect on the value of L-carnitine. You see, you have to have something unique. You have to have something proprietary. You have to have something that prevents and eliminates that Google slap trigger so that they can't go over and do a Google search. If they go over and do a Google search, if they're going to find anything, it's going to be a link back to your site. Because nobody else is selling this particular Facebook method. Nobody else is selling this particular fat burning formulation. Nobody else is selling this type of massage therapy, right? You heard me talk about at MFA Live, again, you're never ever selling the generic. You're never ever selling the commodity. You're not marketing a commodity. Marketing chiropractic care, that's a commodity. right? If I market chiropractic care, all I'm doing is convincing somebody of the value of chiropractic care, and now I've opened them up to any other competitor potentially in the marketplace, right? And so that's where the unique mechanism comes. And so you need to look at your product, your service, the thing that you are offering, and you need to look for if you don't have anything that is unique, you don't have anything that is part of your product or service that nobody else in the marketplace is talking about, then you need to look at how you can assign a proprietary title to your methodology, to your process, to your approach, to your formulation. And this can be done with anything. I used to work with chiropractors many moons ago, and I used to show them how, rather than selling people on chiropractic, it was the Pereira method of chiropractic. And that was because they used muscle stim plus massage plus chiropractic plus a certain analysis every office visit. Right? And so you're able to differentiate those chiropractors that went to the Pereira, to the Schwartz method, or to the Brown method. They were no longer simply offering the commodity. Their unique mechanism was their unique name, their unique methodology, which we gave a name. Your unique process has to have a name. That's the unique mechanism. And so it's developed. That's all it is. The last question is, what if I don't know what my offer is going to be right now? So part of the examination stage was looking at the different components of your offer, right? Looking at your product and looking at what makes your product unique, what makes your product different, looking at all those things, as well as looking at what are the deliverables, right? What are the deliverables that you're ultimately giving, that you're providing buyers with? Well, the truth is that no matter whether you know what the offer is right now or you don't, you're going to learn during the engineering stage how to develop a superior and irresistible offer. Like, you're going to learn exactly how we do that. And so the offer is going to change regardless. The odds on you right now, even if you know what your offer is, having a superior and irresistible offer, the odds are that it's not even there yet. So it doesn't matter if you don't know what your offer is right now, whether you know only one piece, whether you know two pieces, or whether you know nothing as it relates to what the offer should be. You will understand what the offer should be by the end of the engineering portion of the engineering, I think the first module on engineering. And so with that, let me see here. So if you want to run something by me as it relates to what we covered in this module, just go ahead and say yes in the chat box. If you want to talk on camera or on your microphone, say yes, Mike, and then one at a time we will we'll open you guys up.
And I've got a couple of questions that were sent in prior to, Todd. So however you want to handle those, just let me know.
Yeah, we'll mix those in. We'll intersperse those in. And so so David, you choose the order, and then we will just go in order.
Oh man, you're gonna put that on me, huh? All right. So I see here Yassine hopped on. So why don't Yassine hop on first?
Okay. Just going to say, boom! What a beginning. Man, I'm so excited to be with you guys. I mean, I've been chatting with a couple of members here. The caliber of members involved in this program is just awesome. Not just working with Todd, with David, with the team. It's just also the members in here is absolutely mind-blowing. So I'm excited. As it relates to the examine, I thought to share something that I'm doing and get your feedback. So, I'm big on surveys, and research. However, one of the hacks that I think would be helpful is, so I'm working with a sales trainer in the real estate market, launch their coaching program. So what I'm doing is literally, I scheduled a 1-hour call today, and I'm going to go through all the worksheets with him. So I'm going to ask him all the questions that I would, do on my own, or, go on Amazon and try to answer them. And I'm going to interview him on all the desires, all the challenges, and all the demographics, right, of this market. Is that a valid way to go about this? What do you think, Todd?
Yeah, man. And first of all, dude, I'm super excited to have you here, man. When I saw your name on the list, Man, I'm super excited to have you here, dude. And so you certainly help to elevate the caliber of folks here. And so welcome, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. It's so you're just to make sure that I understand, you're talking about you're interviewing a salesperson that sells to the market. Is that what you're saying?
Right. So it's really a sales trainer who sells one-on-one coaching and some information products to the market.
Yeah.
And right.
Yeah.
So someone who operates in this market.
Yeah. So the answer is that's definitely valuable. It would be, I'll give you kind of two levels of this, and I'll share with you something that for those of you that are ambitious, this can be worth a disgusting fortune for you. But so the first level up is that is valuable. That's definitely valuable. It's even more valuable if you can get more than one salesperson, right? Because every salesperson kind of, sometimes in the way they present, if they're not using a script, if they're not using a very, in the company, they might elicit certain responses by the type of questions that they ask. And so you're always better off if you can getting more than one perspective, but that is absolutely valuable. But if you really want to take this up a notch, one of the absolute most valuable things that you could do is interview customers, right? And so if you are working with somebody, and oftentimes it's okay to pay them. Like, in other words, if you had to pay 10 customers $100 each to do an interview with them, that would be the most valuable thing that you could do. Not prospects, customers.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, so Paris, there's a copywriter, his name is Paris Lampropoulos, and Paris trained under Clayton Makepeace. And Clayton is arguably the highest paid active copywriter today. He's got one client that pays him over $1 million a year in royalties. He's generated some $23 million in royalties for himself, not $23 million in sales, $23 million in copywriting royalties for himself. Well, one of his students, the last time I chatted with Clayton, he talked about how Paris, who's now gone on to also generate multiple millions of dollars in royalties for himself, that his secret weapon was doing exactly what it is that I just shared with you. They would pay to get on with 7 to 10 customers, and they would ask them a variety of different questions about what made them buy and what were they afraid of and what was their kind of thinking and mindset before they bought the product, what's their thinking and mindset now, what was their experience like, their day-to-day experience as it relates to the problem before, what is their day-to-day experience like right now, what are the sub-benefits or the additional benefits, like what has changed for them, and how have those changes led to additional changes. And then this is what he would do. Then he would take those audio recordings he would record them. He would take those audio recordings and he would transcribe them. So he would have 7 to 10 transcripts. And what he would do is he would go through and he would highlight with, let's say, pink, he would highlight all of the negative emotions, right? So he'd go through one transcript at a time, and with a pink, he'd highlight all the negative emotions. Then he would go through and he would highlight with a different color. He would highlight all of the positive emotions. Then he would go through with a different color and he would go through all of the objections that these people had. And then he would go through and he would highlight all the benefits that they were looking for. And he would do this for each one, right? Then what he would do is he would then take all of the, let's say, the negative emotions, and he would put it into a spreadsheet, right? So he'd look at all the green highlights on each of the 10. Then he would take all of the positive emotions. Then he would take all, right? And he would do this for each of those points that he highlighted. And then what he would do is he would look for trends. He would look for the ones that appear, right? Appear more often. That appear regularly, right? And he would circle those. The ones that were one-off or that only one person said or two people said, he would cross that out. And then what he ends up with is he ends up with with an actual, a set of benefits that resonated with 7 to 10 customers, a set of negative emotions that were common to those 7 to 10 customers, positive emotions that were, and there you go. And now he's got the insight that he needs. You couple that with the examination stage, and really the way to look at it is that type of insight from customers, right? That confirms your examination. It allows you to confirm. It allows you to see if you're on the mark, if you're off the mark. It allows you to see and to dig deeper. And really, it's if you really think about it for 1 second, if you do that, you have everything you need, right? You have everything you need. It's so like, listen to me, right? Everybody, it's so less about the words that you use in the copy. Right? It's so not about that. And it's so much more about you resonating with what your market really wants. You being able to convey that this is going to give them what they want. And what better than to identify that with people that have spent money, people that whipped out their wallet and bought. And so that is kind of taking, you're on the money, man, and you can take it up a level for those of you that are ambitious with that.
Absolutely. Actually, we're planning on sending out a survey. And at the end of the survey, we're asking for phone numbers. So this just, though, takes the process of analyzing the data to another level. Thank you so much. Awesome. Yeah. And I'll be sharing my experience with you guys in the forum. So anyone who's curious about following my process of implementing this, check out my profile on the forum.
Awesome, man. Thank you, dude. Another thing that you guys can do just to follow up with that, and that's super generous, man. I'm super excited to have him here, man. It's just awesome. I'm super excited to have all you guys and gals here, actually. But another thing that you can do, if you have an existing marketing campaign already, and a marketing message already, or you have a rough draft on a marketing campaign, you can also do the same thing with your marketing campaign. You can ask if you have a prospect list, if you have a list of customers right now, or if you have access to a partners list or partners prospects or something, you can ask, again, 7 to 10 people to go through, right? To go through the sales message and to highlight what is it that resonates with them. So you can ask them, you could say, circle the things that resonated with you, right? And cross out the things that weren't important to you, that were meaningless to you. And you do the same thing when you get that back, right? And what I would ultimately do, this is again about recognizing the task at hand. I would, if you've got a video sales letter script, for example, for a VSL, I would have 7 to 10 individuals, either customers or prospects. I would mail them a physical copy, right? And I would send them a return envelope with the postage taken care of, and I would ask them to go through and, like I said, circle what resonates with them and cross out what doesn't. And then you do the same thing once you get those back from them, and I would pay them. Right? I would let them know that, I would pay them to make sure that it's done. Tell them that once they send it back, that you'll PayPal them $50 or whatever it is, just for taking, a half hour to go through and read it and whatnot. You do the same thing. You take the things that they circled, you put it onto a spreadsheet. You take the things that they crossed out, you put it onto a spreadsheet, and you look for trends. You look for what are the things that everybody circled or that the majority circled. You know how powerful that is for you to get that back, to see that this particular point resonated with 7 or 8 out of 10 people, right? Like, that is enormous. That's enormous. You're eliminating more of the, guesswork, if you will, for that. And so, very cool. So David, go to the next person.
Yeah, so we have Terry. Terry sent in some questions, but Terry's also on the call with us. Terry, do you want to ask the questions live, or do you want me to read them off of the questions?
All right, if they're not comfortable, don't worry. They'll get comfortable. This is a family, so we're all good together. There's no judgment. No, every question is good. So
all right, I'm guessing live. Okay, Terry says live. So just go ahead and unmute yourself then, Terry, so you can go ahead and rock and roll. There you go.
All right, fabulous. So my question deals with coming up with my top 5 to 7 competitors in my market. What is the best way to identify who are the top 5 to 7 competitors in a market?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if let's say you're going into a new market and you have no idea whatsoever, I would start by going over to Google and I would begin to enter in various keywords and keyword phrases that are associated with your market and ultimately the problem or the problem that you're addressing or the solution that you're providing, right? And I would begin to look at the paid ads, right? So I would look at the Google AdWords ads, and what I would do is I would take out a blank spreadsheet and I would copy the URL for those ads. So let's say you go over and let's say you were going to sell a program for natural back pain relief. So you go over and you enter natural back pain relief, natural back pain program, back pain relief, right? You start to enter these different keywords and you're going to take a list of you're gonna take the URL for all those people that are advertising. Then one at a time, you're gonna go to the URL, and you'll be able to see right away if they are doing direct response, right? You'll know if they're like, if you go to their website and they're not, there's no, like if you go to the URL from the ad and they're not asking for an email address or there's no call to action or there's no offer right there, you know that they're not a direct response marketer. Very simple. For direct response, there's always a call to action. Right? So there's always a call to action. If there's not a call to action, right, then it's not direct response. If they're not asking for a response, whether that response is yes or no, opt in, don't opt in, buy, don't buy, then they're typically using brand institutional advertising. And because you're clicking on an ad, that is a clear-cut demonstration that they're not, right? They're advertising and they're sending to a page that doesn't have a call to action. That is clearly not a direct response marketer. Once you've identified who on your list is a direct response marketer, right? You might whittle it down. You might start with 20 URLs, right, from 20 advertisers, and then you might wind up with 8, right? Because, the other 12 are brand institutional advertisers. Then what you want to do is you want to take those, let's say those 8 that are now direct response marketers, and you want to go over to similarweb.com. And you want to, one at a time, enter those URLs into similarweb.com. And don't worry, you don't need to pay for their service. All we're looking for is the volume of traffic that they're getting, right? And once you enter that URL into SimilarWeb, it's going to tell you right there off to the right what their volume of traffic is. Once you see the volume of traffic, you could put that list, that top 8 list, in order of from most to least. I would also go over to Facebook, and I would begin to like the various pages. You could do a graph search in Facebook for back pain relief or back pain or natural back pain, natural health treatments, right? And begin to look for those pages, right? And then I would look for the URL that's associated with those pages, meaning the actual web address, not the URL of the Facebook page, but the URL of their site. So if there's a Facebook page that's, low back pain relief, Facebook/low back pain relief, we're looking for the actual business website address. I would take that, I'd go over to SimilarWeb, I'd look at the traffic, see if that traffic, where it falls on that list. If it falls on that list at the top or the middle, put it in there, right? And then you'll be able to see who are the top competitor. You'll get an idea just from your traffic. That's the simplest way to start for right now. Later on, when we get to the expand module, I'm going to show you how to reverse engineer everything that you would ever want to know about any competitor online. Like, I'm going to show you how to find all their traffic sources. I'm going to show you how to find all their ads. I'm going to show you how to find all their affiliates. I'm going to show you stuff but for right now, that's the simplest way to identify the top competitors. Does that make sense?
Yes. Follow-up question. In terms of the URL, this would be their homepage URL or the URL of where they are driving their ads or their traffic from?
Yeah. So, yep. Great question. So initially what you're going to do is usually on a Facebook page, what you're going to get the URL for is you're going to get the URL for their homepage. What I would do is I would go to the homepage and I would start to look around to see if there are they using any kind of opt-in? Are there ads on their blog that bring you to a direct response video, to a direct response sales page, right? That's how you're going to identify whether it's a direct response marketer. But for the purpose of similar web, you can just put the homepage right in there.
Great, because similar web will pick up any traffic to that site regardless of the page.
Yeah, it'll show you the volume of traffic. It'll show you like their website rank based on traffic. So, you know, it's just a great way to see like who's legitimately getting traffic and who's not really legitimately getting traffic, right? And it's today the beauty of the internet, without getting into, right, like this, the competitor analysis, like I differentiate, you'll hear me later on say competitive analysis is different from competitor analysis. One competitor analysis is just all about like this initial examination stage. When we get to the competitive analysis, then you'll be able to, I'll show you how you drill down and you'll be able to see, we'll be able to uncover all of their sales pages, their order forms, their upsells, and we'll be able to see the traffic that they get to each of those. So we'll be able to see what is like their order form abandonment rate. What are the number of people that are going from their sales page to their order form? Like we'll be able to reverse engineer all of it. For right now, what Similar Web will do for you is just show you overall traffic volume to the domain.
So for right now, the only thing we're using as our criteria for them being successful is the amount of traffic that they're driving.
Yes. Yep.
Great. Thank you very much. Very helpful.
Got it. Okay. You got it. Awesome. Great question.
All right. We're going to move on then. If Terry is good, we're going to move on then to Shing.
Hey, Todd. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good,
Hey,
man.
Shing.
Good. So my question is with respect to crafting the big idea or your hook, the unique mechanism. Because I've launched 5 or 6 products in the past. I'd say maybe 2 of them were home runs and the other ones were kind of mediocre and one was a complete flop. And so what I'm curious about is when you go through this process of crafting that unique mechanism, what's your test to make sure, like before you actually get to the part where you're creating copy and worse yet, creating that product, what's your test to make sure that your audience is going to react favorably to it, meaning they're going to pull out their wallet and their credit card and actually buy?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a list and I've got Facebook pages and Facebook groups and I'll ask questions to them. I'll talk to them in coaching calls and that kind of thing. And sometimes they give you answers that they think you want to hear rather than the real way that they would react if they're exposed to that kind of messaging.
Yeah,
So
like
is there a way to do that without like going hog wild crazy on it?
Yeah, so first, you're way ahead of where we are, right? I want to make sure for everybody that, right, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that when we get to engineering, and so slow down.
Okay.
But I do want to, I will give you an answer to kind of give you some direction. So it's an interesting question because there is no test. Right? Like, in other words, there is no definitive way to confirm the definitive way. If you look at the E5 customer acquisition marketing protocol, you'll see that one of the E's is evaluate. And that's where we evaluate response before we create the full funnel. In other words, we evaluate what I call a minimum viable funnel, all of which you're going to learn all about, right? We evaluate the minimum viable funnel before we run out and we create any kind of reverse add-on or upsell, or before we create the whole follow-up sequence and segment. We evaluate the performance of the idea, the lead, the marketing argument, and the offer, the main offer, and that's it. And so that is at the evaluate stage. But the harsh reality is that there is no definitive test. The test comes from testing your minimum viable funnel and then confirming through the evaluation stage. What I would say for you is that is a couple things. One is that that's why this stage is so important. And that's why it's not the kind of thing that you rush. And that's why I divided it over 2 modules for 2 weeks, because I don't want anybody to sit down and try to bang this out in 2 hours and then be like, hey, I'm done. I want you to be patient because this is that important. The second thing is that, and there are 3. The second thing is that, that the idea that you will learn how to bring your idea through a criteria sheet, meaning that you make sure that it meets certain criteria. As long as it meets that criteria, which that you will be able to objectively determine, as long as it meets that criteria, then you've got a good shot of your test going well and not just we're not taking a stab in the dark. And so between the examination stage and that criteria and then testing the minimum viable funnel, then you're going to get some quick answers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. So David, go ahead. Who's next?
Yeah, so we've got some questions from Travis that he sent in earlier. I don't know if Travis is on the phone with us. I don't see him on there, but he may have called in. Oh yeah, I see Travis Houston. There he is. A couple things about Travis's questions. I noticed that a couple of them are more like in the latter stages of the program.
Yeah, let's skip those.
Yeah. So can we focus on
yes.
what you have now for the examen?
Yeah, so sure. So Todd, one suggestion for what I'm doing to go in and do a little bit of like market analysis, and then one question for you. So the suggestion is, if there's a launch going on in the marketplace, whatever your marketplace happens to be or my marketplace happens to be, by video 3, one of the things I'm going in and doing, so they're driving so much traffic and they're generating so many comments that where the Facebook comment section is on a launch, if there's thousands of comments in there, I'm going in there and copying all of those and then reading through and then highlighting aspects of pieces of those, because I find that a launch generates so much emotion for people right at video 3 that there's just tons of good stuff in there to go and glean and grab and really understand the market. So it's one of the additional things that we're doing to grab market research.
That's beautiful. That is so smart. Perfect. That's a beautiful thing to do. And again, you're looking for common language and buzzwords and phrases, and you're looking for the underlying emotion behind those comments. And once you build up, all of you, this is for everybody. Once you build up a following, and you are, you're publishing content. Maybe you're publishing content to a blog. One of the things that you want to do is you want to regularly go back and export those comments and go through. So I remember years and years ago when I was partners with Rich Sheffrin, and I was getting ready to build the marketing for like GPS or one of these expensive programs. I printed out some 400 plus comments and like a stack, and I just sat with those comments and went through and highlight same thing that we talked about earlier, looking for the verbiage, the language. It's important that you look for language, like common language. That's certainly valuable when it comes to the engineering and it comes to the actual wording and copy that we use, like looking for, some markets call it profit, some markets call it income, right? And looking for those differences. Some markets, like when I went from massage therapists to chiropractors, it was clients to patients. You say patients to massage therapists, you were dead in the water. You say clients to chiropractors, we were dead in the water. But it's also, digging, which I think, Travis, like what Travis just said is spot on. The other thing that I forgot I was going to say, I said there were 3 things before, is that, and I think Travis really touched on it, and that is that I'm not a big fan of surveys in this context. I'm not a big fan of surveys because, it's when people know that they're being watched, it's a created environment. It's a different environment than going over and looking at Facebook comments or looking at blog comments or looking at comments under a launch video on the third launch video or looking at reviews on Amazon, right? When you ask a survey, you put somebody in an environment where they know somebody's going to be looking at their answers and looking at their answers with a purpose, with an objective, right? And so those answers aren't necessarily, aren't necessarily completely accurate. It's why I tell clients all the time that, you don't send out a survey, for example, and ask people, would they buy a product on X? Because you might get a lot of people that say no, but that's out of context. That's in a vacuum. That's outside of a marketing message. That's outside of a persuasive message. They might say no just because but if you expose them to the right marketing message, like you guys are going to learn how to create, they would jump at the chance. And so you have to be careful. And so Travis, I think that's super smart, man.
So second thing, Todd, is first of all, thank God you told me how to pronounce Paris's last name, because I've never known how to pronounce that. So he is, so we're doing something very similar. And I just want to put a pin in something that Todd said for what you said about how Paris goes through this process, how Clayton Makepeace goes through this process. We're charging clients $25,000 to go and do this process for them, where we go in and we charge to do their avatar and empathy maps. And we get on the phone. Like the thing is, we get 15 to 30 clients that they've worked with that have had great results with them. And we literally get on probably an hour to a 90-minute phone call with each person. And we have this pretty advanced spreadsheet that we're going through, and we're taking notes on what they say, both positive and negative, and then highlighting those things and then using that back in the copy for nurture sequences. So if there's something that we've ever done that's been like the most valuable, it's actually getting on the phone with clients. It's getting on the phone with people who haven't had a good experience, because we want to talk to both kinds of people. And so that's been like literally it's not getting on Google. It's not reading the comments. It's not, similar web. It's like, for us, it's literally been talking to people. And I have seen the needle move for clients more than anything with that. And so I just got to say that to hear you say that and to push that is like, it's been the biggest needle mover for us in our company and working with private clients. That's what it's been. So
that's awesome. I love hearing that. And that's, you know what? And kudos to you, man. Kudos to you. I tip my hat to you for going the distance. Right? Like, it's not about, again, for everybody, it's not about you staying within your comfort zone and doing the least amount of work possible and trying to be a 4-hour work week marketer. It's about going the distance. And sometimes that requires getting out of your comfort zone, doing things that maybe you weren't originally planning on doing. But, like Travis said, when you're talking about a successful marketer, that there's nothing more valuable than getting to know your prospects. Remember, the number one most important element, the number one critical element, the number one thing that can radically alter your response more than anything else is who you're talking to. Are you talking to the right people? Do you know what makes them tick? Do you understand them? And is your message in line with what resonates with them? And getting on the phone is one of the absolute best, if not the best ways to do that. And so kudos, brother, for that. That's awesome.
So that's the unfair advantage, in my opinion, the absolute unfair advantage. So I love that. So question from module 1 is, I'd love it if you go into dimensionalized benefits a little bit more. I don't think I completely fully got the nuances of how to use dimensionalized benefits. And I just love the Todd official answer on how do you really effectively use dimensionalized benefits?
Yeah, it's a great question. Great topic. We're definitely going to be talking a bunch more about that during the engineering stage. But I'll tell you that the easiest way to really think about dimensionalized is what does the benefit look like in the life of the prospect? Meaning so I talked about in the module, I talked about, that you have a mechanical pencil, right? And the mechanical pencil has a sponge grip. And I said that, right? The sponge grip is a fact about the product. When you're stating a fact about your product or service, that is a feature. Then we know, everybody on here knows that a benefit is, what does that feature do for the product, right? So that might, we say, it's easier to hold the pencil, let's just say, right? For argument's sake, it's easier to hold the pencil. And so that's about the prospect's experience. It's easier for them to hold the pencil. but what does that really look like? What does that mean? Like, what is the fact that it's easier for them? How does that translate over into a three-dimensional picture? Does that mean, like, do you have this the spongy thing on there because writers complain that they get cramps in their hands and they can only write for 2 hours, and because of that, they end up not writing as much as they really want to write or could write, and so you built a softer, easier to hold pencil, and so you did it first with this feature of the spongy grip, and that means that it's easier for the prospects to hold. And so what that looks like in the day-to-day is that tomorrow, when you have your pencil in hand, you'll be writing smoothly with no pain whatsoever, and a smile will come across your face as you realize you can now write for the full 4 hours every day that you want, right? So all you're doing is really, you're thinking of dimensionalized benefits as make it three-dimensional, give it dimension. Because think about this, it's easier for me to hold. But what am I going to then picture in my mind? Like, what is the experience that I'm going to have as a prospect? I'm immediately going to hear it's spongy, and so it's easier to hold. And so what does that immediately conjure in my mind? What do I envision myself doing, experiencing, right? And then I'm going to paint the picture. I want you guys to think about dimensionalized benefits as you are the director of the movie that plays in your prospect's mind as it relates to what their experience will be like after they get your product, right? And so the closer you can get to three-dimension, and bringing them into that experience, the better or the more you're dimensionalizing it. Let's think about, for example, let's say you were selling a car seat for children. Right, and so there is a special latch on the car seat that makes it super easy or super simple for kids to get latched into the car seat, right? And so that would obviously be a feature. It's a fact about the car seat. And so the benefit, the functional benefit, right, is that it's easy for your kids to get into the car seat, right? Like that's the functional benefit. But what does that look like? That's now like tomorrow, your kids are excited to get into the car. They get in line, they walk over to the car, they jump in, they get themselves in the car seat, they latch in with no crying, no tears, and no complaining. Now you've brought them into a dimensionalized experience of that functional benefit. You see, and it's a great question that, like I said, we're really going to dive into in a later module, but it's really all about like the functional benefit. It needs to conjure an image. It needs to create this vision of a different experience. And so you want to paint that experience for them. And then the emotional benefit is really, how does that make them feel? For example, for a mother, for a father who's been struggling to get their kids into the car seat, and getting into the car has been a source of anxiety and stress, right? Now, with this car seat and with their kids bouncing into the car, loving and enjoying getting in, never crying, never stressing about it, now, right, it's no longer, they're free of worry and they're enjoying, they enjoy, they're proud of the way their kids behave. They're excited about seeing their kids learn how to do something new and doing it excited, all because of that easy latch on the car seat. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like it's transformational future pacing mixed with storytelling.
Sure. That's a great way to put it. Absolutely. You could certainly say future pacing. You're right. You're future pacing what their experience is going to be like. Absolutely. Great.
Cool. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
Got it. Awesome. And so I think that was a great question, like a great thing from Travis, because, it's one of those things that we're going to talk a bunch more about when we get to the engineering stage, but it's the difference between like superficial copy, right? Like copy that where the majority of marketers are like feature benefit, feature benefit, feature benefit, feature benefit. And they never get to that point where they're really bringing the prospect in. See, the functional benefit isn't what generates the emotion. It's the dimensionalized benefit. It's the emotional benefit. It's not the functional benefit. It's the functional benefit we show them the dimensionalized benefit, the future pace, the picture of the experience. That's what conjures the emotion. And so, David, you want to go to the next person?
Yeah, I think that nobody else has stepped up to the plate. I don't see anybody else on here. So, okay, Rachna has a question.
Hi, Todd.
Hey, Rachna, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. So I had a question related to this. It's kind of this interesting thing because through my whole program with you so far, I've been working on my main consulting business and trying to, working on that. What I'm actually really intrigued by right now is looking to build a funnel for my jewelry business. And I'm looking to do a promotion around a unique piece of jewelry that I'm building a story for. And so what I just wanted to kind of touch base with you on is because it's a unique piece of jewelry, it feels to me like obviously it's a product. And so on some level, people are going to like it or not, just based on what it looks like and what the price point is. Are there other things I can keep in mind? Because obviously it's unique. So there's not going to be anything else like it. It's handmade, it's custom. But I'm just curious about a product like that. If you could talk a little bit about doing some of the research and some of the stuff we talked about today.
Yeah. So a couple things. Number one, the research is the same. Like it's the same, even though it's a custom piece of jewelry, I would be looking at how are competitors presenting their jewelry. What are they saying about their jewelry? What are the claims that they're making about their jewelry? What is unique or different about their jewelry as they're presenting? Even though yours is totally custom, like handmade, the whole nine, you still want to do the same research. The second thing is for you should become an avid student of I think it's pronounced Stauer, STAUER.com.
I've seen there. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So, and which brings me to the third point that you see, that's a great actually example for everybody on here. I think it's STAUER.com. If not, just go to Google. What you'll find is this is a company that they sell jewelry, they sell watches, they sell necklaces, they sell a variety of tangible goods, and they're incredibly savvy direct response marketers because they create such unique positioning for each of their pieces of jewelry based on the story. So they'll sell a watch for $50 or $60, whatever it is, and you'll see that the watch is designed based on a general from the army in the 1920s that experienced blah, and you get sucked into the story behind the watch, behind the ring, behind whatever it is that they are selling. And the reality is that, remember, that value is all about perception. So so there's more to it than just they're either going to like it or not. There's certainly an element of that, like when it comes to a physical product, they're either going to like it or not. But how they view it and how they perceive it and how you position it compared to everything else and the story behind it can radically alter the perceived value. It's why there's an example that if I can dig it up, I'll have Chris email you guys out. But there's an example of a company that sells, like hatchets and like axes, and their hatchets and axes are like custom made. They're handmade. They're like, and there's the wood and and I know nothing about tools, but there is all this, right? They sell it for like $350, right? And they're a successful company. They sell a bunch. Meanwhile, you could go to Home Depot and get one for $25, right? And so why would people pay for, it's all in the positioning. And so you still want to do the research. What we'll do when it comes to the engineering is we're going to need to talk about the story behind what makes yours unique and special. Remember, just again, you have to understand, everybody recognize this, that just because something is custom, just because something is unique, that doesn't mean that it should be of more value. There has to be a reason behind, like it's custom made because the material is imported from X. Because it's hand woven with jewels from the Dead Sea. There has to be an element behind it that creates intrigue, that differentiates, and so on. Last thing that I'll say about that is I remember there was a company, I can't remember for the life of me, but I have it somewhere in a binder, and I'll dig it out for you guys. There was a company that sold cigars, right? Like a crazy competitive marketplace. And this company ended up having this direct mail piece that they sent out that became like, it killed, like it crushed it and created millions and millions of dollars for them. And the price point of the cigars was normal. It wasn't like crazy. But they created that direct mail piece told a story of what they had to go through to get the tobacco and how they went through the jungle and they had to hide from, militant guerrillas, and they had to go miles in, and it took them 7 days to finally get to the purest, right, like of tobacco, and then they had to pay off the government to fly it out, and because of that they only have a certain number of cigars, and it was just so unbelievable, right? And again, look, maybe they did go through the maybe they did, I'm assuming that they did go through the jungle, right? We're never going to lie, but of course there's what I would call, there's creative license. Maybe there were militant guerrillas, but like it wasn't like they were hiding in the bushes away from. But the story felt it was intriguing, and so you just looked at like, my gosh, that's insane, amazing. If I could, you were sucked in. That's what we're gonna do for you.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Todd.
You got it. Awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so I see here both Terry and Yassine asked about the dates coming up. I'm assuming you guys are talking about for the Elevate, like planning dates. Is that what you're talking about? Because the coaching call dates should be loaded in there.
Yeah, and this is all Chris, but we'll get you guys out a full calendar going forward. Every Monday, a new module will be released for you. If I'm not mistaken, every Tuesday night is an Elevate coaching call. But I'll make sure that Chris sends you guys out the schedule today of like what's the order, so that which calls you can jump in on. And let me say this, that for Elevate, and this is a very important point for you guys, you don't like, those calls are there based on your need. So I don't want you to feel like, some of you might never get on the technology call with Teddy. Some of you might always get on that, or you may only get on that once in a while when you need assistance. Those calls, those coaches are there based on your need. So don't feel like you have to be there. That's not what those calls are for, if that makes sense. Also, we will, for those of you that want to go back through any of these, any of the facilitator sessions, there'll be a special place inside the portal for you guys, for this group to go back through the recordings. Of course, all of the coaching sessions will be recorded and will be put into the portal for you guys. And I think by Monday, if I'm not mistaken, we will have the dates for the yearly planning for you guys, which is also going to be just off the charts. And so I'm super excited for that for you guys. So Dave. Okay,
cool. Yeah. So Travis asked, would you give any relevant book recommendations for augmenting module 1? I just want to, give a shout out for this one. If you guys saw this in module 1, this is a fantastic book. So I go through it all the time, quite honestly. So I don't know, Todd, if you have anything to add other than this book for module 1.
No, I don't think that, I don't want you to, I think if there was a book that I would recommend, it would be Victor Schwab's book. I did the best that I could to put in there, like the core of what, you would take away, but there really is no, I don't want you to overthink it. I really don't want you to feel like, look, I would be lying if I said that we nail scientifically exactly who our market is. I don't. That would be a lie. The reality is that you do the best you can with the examination process, the first part that I gave you, and then the second part that we're going to be going through in module 2. And then it really comes down to the testing of the minimum viable funnel as well as the evaluation stage. That's why we're always going to have an evaluation stage, because the reality is that that you're not going to nail it all the time. Like when Shane was asking, how do you make sure that you nail it every time? You don't. And the fact is that and the original Elevate members, when it was the Mentor to a Million program, they have heard me say time after time after time that this is a business of iteration. That this is not a business of you stepping up to the plate and every time you create a funnel out of the gate, the first time at bat, you hit a home run. It was, Mark Ford, Michael Masterson, who the guy, the mastermind behind Agora, $500 million direct response company, like the heavyweight champs of direct response today, who said to me that they're constantly working on new funnels. They're constantly working on optimizing funnels, fixing, because 8 out of 10 don't work, right? 8 out of 10 don't work. The beauty is that it was Joe Sugarman, it was Ted Nicholas, it's Mark, that have all top direct response marketers that have all talked about how if you can have 2 out of 10 winners, you will be very wealthy in this business. And so you have to recognize that that it is a game of iteration. And so, yeah, absolutely. So David, make sure that everybody knows they can ask, they can open up their mic one at a time when you call on them and ask, fire away, of course.
Yeah, so I've got kind of a running order here of folks that are asking questions, but Magdalena, absolutely. So, Todd kind of goes over in the beginning, just talks a little bit about the module. I know you hopped on a little bit later, but he'll talk about the module, and then we open it up absolutely for questions and to talk about your what you have going on specifically. So, is it Jaime? Is that correct? I believe it's Jaime. Who's next? Does anybody hear? Am I saying, is it Jamie or Jaime? I think it's Jaime. Can't hear him. So let's move on then to Terry.
Just have him or her, and I apologize for that. Put their if the mic isn't working, have them put their question into him. Sorry about that, buddy.
Yeah.
Put their question in if the mic doesn't work into the chat box so that we can get his question answered.
Yep. Okay. All right. So, yeah, Jaime, if you want to post that, but let's move. We'll get right back to you, man. Let's jump
really quick, Terry. Yes, just keep them in a binder right now because we're going to use them when we get to the engineering stage. So you can just set once your worksheets are filled out, just set them aside. Again, right now for everybody, we're just examining. We're collecting the data, the information, the fodder that we're going to use when we get to the engineering stage, which starts in module 3.
Okay. Yeah, Jaime's telling us it's him. He's a tall, good-looking guy, but we got to get your question, buddy. So whenever you want to shoot that over to us. And then Yassine, if you want to hop on, Yassine, and then we'll get back to Jaime.
So, as I start doing the research, obviously I'm finding there are multiple segments in this market. I'm sorry. So I'm wondering, do I want to start thinking about market segments and segmentation when I'm putting together my minimum viable product? Or do I want to just keep it simple and have a one-size-fits-all marketing message and an offer since I'm doing I'm still validating the offer? What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, so, and again, we'll talk about that during the engineering stage, but I would tell you that you don't want to try to have a one-size-fits-all message. Like if, you don't want to build a funnel that is trying to appeal to every possible individual in the market. You definitely, I'm going to show you how to engineer the funnel I'm going to show you how to engineer the funnel in one way where it can be used with everybody in the market without trying to design a funnel that appeals to everybody in the market. You'll understand when we get to the engineering stage. I wouldn't start right now segmenting down. Everybody ultimately is going to identify who is the audience. So for example, if you're in a market and let's say you're going after golfers and the market of golfers can be sliced and diced up into, like new golfers, it can be sliced in, there are golfers that are frustrated. There are golfers that are ultimately, we are going to pick who the target is. You're not going to try to design a message that appeals for everybody. But once you identify based on your product, that you're going after golfers that, people that have been golfing for, they're golfers, whatever that means. Then I'm going to show you how to design the funnel so that it appeals to every golfer, right? That is in that, not the new golfer, not the golfer that has no interest. I'm going to show you how to do that.
Right. Thank you for answering. Maybe I need to clarify it a little bit further. So, so the market I'm working in is sales in real estate, phone sales in real estate. And what I'm thinking is there's the beginner who's trying to get his first deal. There's the guy who's with a little bit experience, they close on 1 to 10 deals. And there's the advanced wholesaler investor, right? So I'm thinking, do I want to start segmenting? Because obviously,
yes. The answer is yes, because that's really a different market. Right? So in other words, if you looked at, for example, let's say, people that are buying houses, right? And you've got, let's say, investors that are buying houses, and then you've got individuals that are buying a house for their sole residence. Those are two different markets, just because they're looking for two different markets. Even if you had, let's say, an individual that was looking to invest in real estate, commercial real estate versus residential real estate, that's two different markets, because there are two different issues, two different fears, two different problems, two different outcomes, two different even thought processes related to that. So,
what about within the same market? So specifically real estate investors who are buying properties for the purpose of investing. You have the newbie investor and you have the advanced investor and you have the guys in between.
Yeah, so it depends. So tell me, what is it so if you have, let's say it's investing in real estate, and you've got the total newbie, you've got the veteran, you've got, right? Well, then it depends on what are you teaching? Let's say hypothetically you were teaching them how to
sales.
Meaning what? What is the newbie? Are you talking about negotiating a deal or negotiating a deal?
Yeah, how to qualify the lead and how to negotiate a bigger spread and stuff like that.
Yeah. So so you don't need to segment because the ability to sell, right? The ability to sell, the ability to negotiate better terms applies to whether they are a newbie or whether they are a veteran. Right now, if you said if you told me you were teaching them on how to double their rental income from their current properties, then it goes without saying that's not the newbie. But if you're talking about something that is appropriate for all the different levels, then it's fine. You'll see how we cover that. You don't need to segment out, because you're ultimately selling the same thing. You're selling the same result to the same problem, to the same skill set, it's just about their experience. And I'll show you how we cover that.
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you.
You got it.
Terry is asking specifically about the intensive day, Todd. Just wanted to get an idea for travel plans. I know we were talking about December.
Yeah, I sent it over. I messaged him. I said it's 2 days and it's December, but we'll have the specific dates for you guys.
Got it. Okay. And Jaime sent over, if I'm not skipping over anybody, I hope I'm not. But Jaime sent over the question there. So if you want
he said, I'm doing a nutritional product with respect to the unique mechanism. I have the ability to differentiate as much as I want. After looking at competitors, how far should I go? A little better, a lot better, over the top better. So for the unique mechanism, there is no such thing as better. There is no such thing as little better, a lot better. It's not better, it's different. right? It is that ultimately what you're talking about here, what you're looking for here is, so there is a reason why a prospect would take your nutritional supplement, whatever it is. If it's a cardiovascular supplement, for example, if it's to help them, let's say, reduce cholesterol, for example, and whatever it is, right? So that's ultimately the promise of the product. The promise of the product might be it helps to reduce cholesterol. So the unique mechanism is all about how does it do that in a way that is different from every other product that is supposedly addressing cholesterol and promising to lower cholesterol. Is it that you have a unique combination of nutrients, and that combination of nutrients works to trigger, your body's anti-inflammation, to reduce inflammation in the arteries and prevent the, atherosclerosis? Like, that's what you're looking for. So it's not better, right? Better is without, this is something that we're going to talk about. You're going to hear this in module 2. Better is better is all about, it comes back to the promise exposure spectrum, and better is a level 2 message. Better is like, you've got somebody that you've got when the very first fat burner came out, right? Remember, level 1, they never heard the promise before. All that had to be said was take this pill and you'll lose weight. As more and more competitors came out, you couldn't say that anymore. Today, we can't say take this pill and you'll lose weight. We can't say take this pill and to help reduce cholesterol, because it's been said before. It's out there already. Well, then what happens is people start to try to make it better. They expand the claim. Take this pill and your cholesterol will drop by 10 points. Take this pill and your cholesterol will drop by 20 points. Take this pill to reduce. Take this pill. It's better because it has a higher dosage. It's better because it has more of these nutrients, right? But then you reach a point where that, again, the market doesn't respond to that type of message. That's where we go to the next stage, level 3, if you will, or stage 3 of the promise exposure spectrum. That's where you introduce the unique mechanism. The unique mechanism is no longer about better, it's about different, right? And so it becomes about a different way that your product fulfills on the promise. And this is such an important point that, again, we're going to talk through this for each of you with the engineering modules, but it really is about, it's about what is different about your product when it comes to the fulfillment of your promise, right? What is different about your product? What is the different ingredient, the different formula, the different combination, the different method, the different process, what is different about it, and how does that difference fulfill on the promise? Right? See, because again, like I shared at MFA Live, if you've got a fat burner, right, it's all been said today. Take this pill and you'll lose. Take this pill, it prevents the absorption of fat. Take this pill, it speeds up your metabolism. Take this pill that, right? Well, today, in order to have a new fat burner that catches on like wildfire, you have to have a different mechanism. Your pill helps people lose weight because it's got a combination of X, Y, and Z that triggers certain hormones that do LMNOP. And that's never been done before. It's never been shared before. It's never been offered before. So then prospects say, maybe now. Then they have hope because they say, that's the ticket right there. That everything else that I tried was all about speeding up my metabolism. Everything else I tried was all about preventing the absorption of fat. But this product, because it has this combination, this proprietary formulation, and it stimulates these hormones that do X, Y, Z, maybe now that's what I've been missing. And that is so huge. Like, I cannot tell you how important that is. That's what makes your prospects compelled to want to try your thing, because they believe that that's what's been missing for them up to that point. So hopefully that makes sense. Go ahead, David. Who's next?
I don't have anybody else unless anybody else wants to hop on here. I may have missed somebody. I don't think that I did, but if anybody has any questions, you can hop on now.
Yeah, this is kind of, like I said, this is a very unique, like we don't, I don't do these facilitation sessions anymore. And nobody's like, this is it. Like, I don't, like, this is it. I won't be doing these again. So this is kind of, it's cool I want to make sure that you guys are, look, you can stay on as long as you want. You could come on, ask your question, get my feedback, get my direction, get my insight, get my oversight, and then jump off. This is all about you guys. If we go an hour, we go an hour. If we go 2 hours, we'll go 2 hours. I don't want you to feel like you need to be here. Like, this is for you. And every week, again, what this is about, just for those folks, before we wrap up, for those folks that get on late, first of all, I did record this. So if you missed the beginning, you can go back and listen to everything that I shared at the beginning. But what this is all about is this is all about every week you guys go through the module. That's where you learn. Then you do the appropriate exercises, right? You're going to understand week by week, because I'm going to be here with you every week, how to translate that learning properly, how to nail it when you're implementing, when you're executing. Be patient. Understand that I'm leading you through a process that this is what we do. This is what I do. Be patient. I want to cover with you every week that week's module. Right? This is why we drip feed it out, right? Why we don't open up all the modules, because it's not about learning. There is no value in learning without execution, without implementation. And so what's even more important than just the learning is doing the worksheets, filling it right. And then if you have questions, if you're unsure about something, if you need the direction, that's what these sessions are for every week. So that at the end of the week, you walk away, and if you need to tweak something, now you know what to tweak. If you need to change something, now you know what to change. If you just want confirmation that you did it right, perfect. If you want to get on here like a few of you folks did, and you just want to share some insights that you've gained for the rest of the group, awesome. Totally down for that. So one more question from Travis. Go ahead, Travis.
Okay, so this is about the competitor analysis. I've got 36 competitors that I'm analyzing in one market, which is a lot. And I've already done the top 5 myself. And so I've got a process. I recorded a video on the structure for how I want to go through it. And I'm having one of my Filipino VAs go through and do the rest. So I'm just wondering what you found, because obviously the person who's really involved with either the client or doing the product needs to be the one that really understands, the value ladder the person is putting out, what their risk reversals are, or, what their unique selling points are, the messaging. But now I want to have one of my VAs go through, after a video I recorded them, for how to do this process and give me the rest of the information so I can go scan through that in a Google Doc. Have you done that before? What's your opinion on that? Just want to know, I don't have time to go do all 36 myself.
Yeah. First of all, man, I love it. It's such a savvy freaking group, right, man? Like, I love the fact that Travis is like, what an entrepreneurial move to just outsource that. It's just so smart, man. And so again, I tip my hat to you, brother, for being savvy enough to do that. That's fine. You can absolutely do that, because the value is not in the collection. The value is in the review. And so as long as your VA or a VA understands what it is that they're looking for, which it sounds like you nailed with the video for them, then the value is not in the collection. The value is in the review. And so I think that that's fine. The one thing that I would say, though, the only thing that kind of is a bit of a red flag for me is I would question the necessity of doing 36 competitors, because you rightly so may have 36 legitimate competitors. You could have more than that. But in almost every market, there is, I would look for the 80-20. And I would really look for the 20% that, I would question what percentage of those 36 competitors are really banging out there, are really creating additional noise. There's always competitors that are out there, but if they're not really occupying a significant percentage of mind share in the market, I wouldn't worry about them. And so
I cut it from 107 down to 36. And what I'm looking for is is there any blue? It's a market where it's a red ocean, to be honest. And so I'm looking for, in this space, where's the blue ocean left? And I believe I've already found some, but I want to go through everything and really see, okay, where's the blue ocean within the blue ocean now?
Yeah, I think that's great, man. You are, let me just say, you're preaching to the choir, dude. Just as a side note, before I let you guys go, Blue Ocean Strategy. It's near and dear to my heart, that book. It changed my business radically. It was recommended to me 12 years ago or 11 years ago from Rich Sheffrin, and it radically changed my business. Book that you should pick up. I don't know if it's appropriate for all of you or some of you. It's probably has nothing to do with marketing funnel generation, but just to hear you say that, Travis, book that's near and dear to my heart, brother. And so I love hearing that, man.
Last thing is I was having lunch with Phil Same yesterday, and I think I've got a good JV opportunity for something he's doing with something that you're doing, and I want to put you guys together.
Cool, man. Awesome. Yeah, I know. I texted Mike not that long ago, but I know he's been, going through some changes and whatnot. But I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, dude. And so let me see here. So just to make sure, Terry, after we do our worksheets for this module, if we want to get feedback on them, do we bring them to the next call next Friday, or is there somewhere else? Yeah, you could. So there's a couple things. For me, if you want my feedback, right? What you ultimately want to do, and it's a great question. Terry's really asking the question about, so when you fill out the worksheets, if you want feedback on those worksheets, do you bring them here? Ideally, what you want to do is you want to go through the module on Monday, and then you might want to go through the module again, on Tuesday, Wednesday. You work on the module, the exercises, the worksheets on Thursday. You bring them. You bring them here, you get whatever feedback it is that you want from me or need from me, and then you tweak whatever needs to be tweaked if something needs to be tweaked. And then if you want to double check again the following week, sure. What I'm okay doing, what I do, what we've always done is we can talk about anything from this week's module or before, but we just don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So if you go back now and you rework your worksheets and you want feedback on them next week, what you'll do is you'll show up with the reworked worksheets from module 1, and you'll show up with the worksheets from module 2 so that you can get feedback on that. The key is that you continue to learn, execute, feedback, right? And whatever needs to be tweaked, tweak. Learn, execute, feedback. Learn, execute, feedback. As well, you could always go into the portal. And so I will be going into the portal every day starting next week. The team is in the portal. And so the portal is kind of like, it's a great place to get feedback. Like if you don't need a lengthy explanation, it's a great place to get feedback. And that's why we built it with video capability, audio capability, so that you guys can post video in there if you want to show something and ask a question, if you want to show your worksheet and whatnot. And so, yeah, the forum. Yes. And so, yeah, we're really going to, with you guys, it's kind of an interesting thing that, like I said, I'm going to, Yassine said, and I love having Yassine in here, man. I love you being in here, brother. That, for you guys, this is an interesting thing because, right, this is the first and only time that we're really going to have individuals in Elevate that are also going through the masterclass at the same time. So you guys are kind of getting two things at once. And so what I would love to get from you is, if you say, like, if you find that you'd love to have us set you up with an accountability buddy or something like that, or an accountability partner, or definitely give feedback, like definitely give feedback, because this is a unique situation for you guys. And I want to make sure that we give you everything that you need in this unique situation. And so with that, David, anything else?
No, I think that about wraps it up. So let me just see here. I guess Terry asks, is that the forum is
Yeah, and Chris is going to be yeah, the answer is yes, but Chris is going to be releasing some kind of tutorial videos, if you will, so that you guys better understand like all the deeper advanced capabilities in the forum to be able to communicate with each other for video, for audio, for immediate live chats and whatnot, because the portal is so deep that there are so many advanced features. So John said, I would love to see the example that Todd put together to promote Elevate as an example, if possible. So I'm not sure what you mean, John, by that. An example that I put together. I would love to see the example that I put together to promote Elevate, the worksheets, in other words, that you're talking about worksheets for Elevate. Got it. So I didn't have to put together worksheets for Elevate, only because I'm so in tune with the market today, fortunately, that a lot of the questions are easy to be answered. What I will share with you is I'll share with you examples when we get to the engineering stage. That's when I'm going to share with you guys a lot of examples of from beginning to end, stuff that you guys don't even know you're going to be getting yet in those modules. You'll see. And so, cool. All right, David, if that is it, let's send these folks on their way. We've got some busy entrepreneurs on here. And so keep your eye out for a bunch of, like a bunch of emails, like I said, regarding the dates for the annual planning session. Keep your eye out for the module on Monday. Make sure that you get into the portal, that you get into the forum, get in there, because we're really going to start aggressively utilizing that and communicating with everybody, the entire team, me, on Monday. And yeah, get ready. We're just scratching the tippy top of the surface here. And so that's it. Love you guys. Love having you guys in here. Thank you so much for your participation, and have an awesome day and weekend. And I'll see you guys next week and in the forum.
Awesome. Thanks.
You got it. All right. See you guys.